Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kevin Bargness. I'm with the Communications Division at the Department of Planning and Development. We are live streaming this on YouTube and it's being recorded. Just wanted to let you know that. I'll be helping with some technical things behind the scenes tonight. And I will kick it over to Brian Hacker to welcome us. Brian, go ahead.
Thanks, Kevin. Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Hacker. I am a coordinating planner with the City of Chicago's Department of Planning and Development in the West region. I'm also the project manager for the North Lawndale, Ogden Avenue Invest Southwest RFP project that we're here to discuss tonight. So, welcome back to most of you. This is the second of two nights of developer presentations that we're going to have due to the interest that we received in the RFP, and we'll get going here. So to start off, here's our agenda. We're going to walk through a introduction and welcome, and also do an RFP recap to provide some background context on what this project is all about for those who have not been involved in the process earlier. And then we've got the bulk of the night is going to be devoted to presentations and Q&A from the three development teams that you see listed here. We've let the development teams present in alphabetical order. So just in case you were wondering, not to give anybody preference, order of the project name. So we've got three tonight: Pivot North Lawndale, Proxima, the Proxima Hotel, and the Tapestry. And at the end, we'll have a little bit of time to discuss next steps from here and where we're going to go in our evaluation process. So, I assume most of us joining the meeting have been a part of the process or somehow aware of what we're looking to do in North Lawndale as part of the Mayor's Invest Southwest initiative. But in November of 2020, we released a request for proposals for a block of Ogden Avenue on the north side between Homan and Trumbull to reimagine that. It's a currently vacant land, and work with the community and stakeholders to produce a community-oriented project that is going to fit the vision that we have determined throughout this process. So before we get into it any further, I'd like to invite Alderman Michael Scott, who we've worked with very closely on this project, to come and say a few words for us here to help get us started. Alderman?
Brian, I'm not seeing him in the room, so we may want to come back to that in a bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. He mentioned he was joining now, but yeah, if you don't mind keeping an eye on that, Kevin, I'd appreciate it. So yeah, I'm going to continue on here. Our goals for this evening are to meet the respondent teams, the development teams that have replied to this RFP opportunity. We're going to be hearing about their proposals, the details of the projects they're proposing, and then we'll be asking you for your feedback. The way that this will be structured, as you can see in this chart here, is that after we're done talking here at the beginning, there will be three 30-minute blocks that are devoted to the developer presentations, and they'll consist of roughly 8 minutes of a video presentation and 22 minutes of Q&A. We're going to stick very closely to the schedule tonight to make sure that everyone gets a chance to be heard and to ask, make their comments. And then at the end, our DPD Commissioner Maurice Cox will be joining us for some closing comments, and we'll discuss next steps. So this is a very important one. The instructions for tonight, with all due respect to everyone in attendance here, we are going to be asking that everybody enter their comments and their questions by text, just so we can be as efficient as possible with our time. For most of the folks in attendance, you'll see a Q&A button. If you are a panelist, we ask that you use the chat to enter your questions, and our moderator, Norma Celadon, will be monitoring both, and we'll also be answering some by text as well. Like if it's a question for the city, I can respond by text. If you have any follow-up questions after tonight, you can always pose them to dpd@cityofchicago.org, and we can respond to you via email. And then everything that we're discussing here tonight in terms of the Q&A, at least everything that's relevant, we may summarize some of the questions that are posed. We'll be issuing a Q&A document that summarizes the discussion that happened here and the questions that were asked and the responses from each of the development teams. So I see the alderman's on, and I will give you the floor here.
Thank you, Brian. Sorry for my tardiness. I had a little computer glitch. My computer booted up on me by accident. Anyway, thank you all for being here on the second night. I think we have another round of amazing proposals that we're going to view this evening. I'm sure Brian will go into our next steps after this, but wanted to first thank Brian for all his hard work in this effort. He has been magnificent in making sure that we kept this on pace. Want to thank our moderator who did a great job last night, and I anticipate doing an awesome job today. Want to thank all of the developers yesterday and today who have taken their time and their efforts and their talents and concentrated it here in North Lawndale to give us something that I believe is going to be catalytic and is going to change the tenor of North Lawndale for the better. We appreciate all of this work and look forward to working with you, whether you win or lose. And then lastly, I want to thank each and every one of the residents that are here today, taking time out of your busy schedules to see what could possibly come here to North Lawndale. I talked a little bit about this yesterday. This is a new scenario for us in the city of Chicago. These RFPs, this is something that has not happened before. And I was very apprehensive about kind of what would happen and how we would get here. And I'm glad that I let my reservations down and kind of went with this process. We, again, have 6 presentations over the last 2 days that have been very, very informative. And I think something that, again, will change our community for the better. So sit back, enjoy these presentations today. Look forward to further discussion on all of these issues and all of these projects in the near future, and choosing something that is going to be great for us here in North Lawndale. Again, thank you all.
Thanks very much, Alderman. Yeah, it's been great working on this together so far, and we're definitely looking forward to what this process yields as we continue to move it along here with the help of you all who are in attendance tonight. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to just provide some context for the project and the opportunity site and what we're hoping to accomplish here and how we came to this point where we currently are today. So again, I know a lot of people were here last night, so I'll try to make this as brief as possible. This is our opportunity site, as I mentioned, located on Ogden Avenue. Ogden Avenue is one of 12 priority corridors that were selected for Mayor Lightfoot's Invest Southwest initiative to be the focus of this program. And the stretch of Ogden and North Lawndale that we're focusing on is from Kedzie out to Pulaski. So this kind of falls right in the middle there, just slightly east of the Pink Line station at Central Park there, between Trumbull to the west and Homan to the east. The site is roughly an acre in size. The appraisal that was done in the advance of the RFP release valued this at $180,000. It's made up of 6 city-owned parcels and 1 privately owned parcel that the city has acquisition authority over. So in advance of the release of the RFP, we went through a robust community engagement process, and to make sure that that RFP document strongly reflected what the development priorities of the community are. And, you know, to accomplish this, we looked at, you know, past plans, but primarily the 2018 quality of life plan that we know is, you know, held very, very dear and very valuable to the community. We held a large kickoff meeting for Invest Southwest on the west side in January of 2020, right when the initiative was getting going. Since roughly a year ago, we've been holding monthly roundtables around the Invest Southwest corridor in North Lawndale with community stakeholders, and covering a number of things, but also, you know, doing a pretty deep dive into this project and getting a really thorough review of it before the RFP went out. We've also done interviews with local stakeholders. As I mentioned before, worked very closely in collaboration with Alderman Scott, and held community meetings in advance of the RFP release in the fall of last year. And what came out of that was, you know, it's roughly a 60-page document. Hopefully some of you had a chance to review it. As you can see, we worked in the images on the left side, we worked with Studio Gang architects who were generous enough to offer up their services pro bono to do a rendering that we feel reflects the community vision and some like conceptual plans that went in the document to help guide developers when they were putting together their proposals and considering what types of land use should be involved. We really push strongly on a development that's pedestrian oriented. It was very important to the community that there be commercial space that accommodates local small businesses and entrepreneurs, as well as retail that really serves the community. There's obviously a need for new retail and very like practical amenities in the community, which we heard. We also heard from the community that mixed income housing is a priority, as well as public pedestrian oriented spaces that can make Ogden Avenue a more walkable place. So in the RFP timeline, we are in step 3 here, right in the middle of doing our evaluation. So we've received the responses from developers. We got 6. And now we're working with the community and reviewing internally to help decide what project we're going to select. And that's the last step there. And once we do select a project, we will be negotiating further with the selected team and hopefully maybe even talking to some of the teams that are not selected too about some opportunities that the city has to offer to, not to make this a kind of, zero-sum game here. So to review the responses that we got to the RFP, these are the presentations that are the teams that presented last night. Elevate Hive, led by the Hive Cosmetology School, Miller and Ferguson, Structure Group and Rankins Group, Lawndale Redefined, which is a proposal from GRE Ventures, Imagine Development Group, and 548. OG Lawndale, which is a project from Gorman and Company, and Beehive and JGMA. And tonight's presentations are for Pivot North Lawndale, which is led by Michael's Development and New Covenant CDC, Proxima Hotel Proposal, which is led by Proxima Management, and the Tapestry or El Tapiz, which is led by Lawndale Christian Development Corporation and the NHP Foundation. So what to keep in mind when we're reviewing these proposals tonight, just kind of big picture impressions that you might have. What are some things about it that you're excited about? What are some things that you might be concerned about based on your knowledge of the community and the context? And one of the things, this number 3 here, this is a big evaluation point for us, is what can these projects do to build community wealth? Are they supporting local small businesses? Are they providing jobs to the community? Does the development team, reflect the community in terms of African American, and other minority participation? And then finally, what is the competence of the teams, and how appropriate is this proposal for the community? So we're going to be incorporating this feedback in several ways. So first of all, we will be synthesizing tonight's comments and the questions into a Q&A document that'll be distributed to everyone. And we'll be referring back to these in the evaluation process. We'll be distributing within the next week, an online scorecard, which is similar to a survey that allows the public to weigh in on these projects and rate them on a number of different elements. We're also talking internally, and we hope to have some more concrete news on how we're going to be involving the community in other ways in this process as well, to make sure that this is a real collaboration between the city and North Lawndale residents. And finally, even after a team is selected, we'll be referring back to the community feedback during our negotiations and when we're reviewing things like the design elements of the project to make sure that it's still true to what the community has put forth. So we're going to begin the developer team presentations here, but first I would like to introduce our facilitator, Norma Celedon. She's a Mexican immigrant and a resident of Chicago for over 50 years, who is from the West Side near North Lawndale. Has over 40 years of professional commitment to the community and grassroots development and training around issues of organizational development, diversity, equity, and inclusion, women's and community leadership, education attainment by underrepresented groups, domestic violence, sexual assault, and substance abuse. She is presently an employee of CPS, and she holds a BS in psychology from Loyola University, a master's in higher ed leadership from Northeastern University, and is a PhD candidate in the community psychology program at National Louis University. She's been offering training around racial equity for over 30 years, and she's deeply committed to closing gaps, especially between Brown and Black communities. So that's quite an impressive CV you got there, Norma. And with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Brian. Again, my name is Norma Celedon, and it really is a pleasure to serve as your facilitator this evening. I am a North Lawndale neighbor. I currently reside in South Lawndale, also known as Little Village, and I currently serve various communities, including North Lawndale, in different capacities. This is but one of them. So thank you everyone for being here. We have, I understand, almost 260 individuals register. So it's my impression that all who gather here do so because they desire the best for North Lawndale. Tonight is one step of many moving towards strong relationship building and accountability. Participatory partnerships are evolving. And with that in mind, I want to invite us to go over some gathering guidelines. So number one is we ask that you please use the Zoom Q&A or the chat function for any questions. I am going to take those questions in the order that they come in. Questions that have been addressed are going to be cleared. And this is after each developer presents. So we ask that you please address questions to the development team that is presenting. Otherwise, we may lose that question once we clear those. And want to remind us that all questions and ideas are valid, and we ask that you participate with respect. As a reminder, we will have each of our 3 developers introduce themselves, as well as make an 8-minute presentation. And then we're going to follow that with about 20 to 22 minutes of audience questions. And then we will move on to our 2nd and 3rd developers with the same format. And a message to our developers representatives. We ask that you please be succinct with your answers, as we would like to get in as many questions as possible. So I'm warning that you may find me interrupting to ask you to consolidate or wrap up. And with that, I would like to invite our first developer, Pivot North Lawndale, to introduce themselves and also share with us their vision for North Lawndale.
Well, thank you, Norma. I certainly appreciate that. My name is Rodney Brown. I am the Executive Director for New Covenant CDC, and my partner in this project is Greg Olson with Michaels Development. Our other partners include our architect, Canopy, and that is led by, hold on one second, that is led by Jaime Torres Carmona. Our co-architect is Future Firm, led by Ann Louie. Our planner is David Brown, Artistic Director for 2021 Chicago Architecture Biennial. Our community consultants in this project are Bobby Price, owner of Principal Barbers in North Lawndale, Edwin Muldrow, owner of Del Car Pharmacy in North Lawndale. Our landscape architect is Planning Resources Incorporated, President Daryl E. Garrison. Our structural and MEP engineering will be handled by Millhouse Engineering, who is led by Gene Makute. Our civil engineering is headed by Engage Civil Inc., led by Kelsey Taylor, principal of that organization. What you're about to see is a proposal that is focused on reversal of fortunes, hence the name Pivot. Our proposal includes housing, jobs, small business development, and more, all with a focus on community engagement and wealth building. We are planning a site that will, with all the development going on North Lawndale, that will make us a destination place. We have been very intentional in aligning our project with the community quality of life plan that we have in place. So what you're going to see here is that this plan has been developed with the North Lawndale stakeholders in mind. So with that, I'll turn it over now and ask to present our video. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I do believe Lawndale is a perfect location for like other communities to come in and connect. We're located in almost a perfect spot. We're surrounded by almost every neighborhood in the city that can come through or connect with us through Ogden if we had something here that would draw them. And so we definitely need people to stop in and put their feet on the ground in North Lawndale. The neighborhood is ready to be festival and to bring folks in, you know, from the outside to take a look.
Michaels is a 50-year-old affordable housing developer, and we're active nationally. We have been working in Chicago for 20 years, and we own and manage about 1,700 units of primarily affordable mixed income properties throughout the city. So in the context of Pivot North Lawndale, we expect community to revolve around living, obviously the 54 affordable and market rate rental units with tons of amenities, with the ground floor space, which includes retail, as well as a pavilion and public space. So really trying to create a space that offers a lot of different options for residents of North Lawndale to come together and just be themselves. Well, the first thing we do when we look at a site anywhere is we assemble a quality team, all of whom are MBE certified. We've really turned to Future Firm and our partner New Covenant CDC to think through what can we do to bring wealth to the community. And successful developments have a community engagement piece, and that can range from local hiring to MBE, WBE subcontracting or general contracting. You know, rather than doing just a one-off project, what we thought made the most sense is for New Covenant to own and operate an incubator space.
We're going to have an incubator space for small business owners. We're going to have a place where we can teach them. There'll be an opportunity for us to still coach them, bring them along, and do that in a space that they're going to be comfortable. And the other thing that does for us is that it lets those businesses communicate with each other, and we'll create a cohort of business owners that are working together. And our plan includes having them occupy those different spaces until they get to a certain level, then we launch them out into the deep. And that again contributes to the plan we have for North Lawndale in terms of development. And we believe that as others in the community see that happening, then folks who have ideas about starting a business, they'll come to us and say, hey, how do I do that? Because a lot of times people need to see someone else doing it before they believe it can happen for them. So this building, this Pivot North Lawndale, will give us an increased visibility in terms of what we're doing and drawing even more entrepreneurs to our door.
But really, this is kind of like level one of a continued conversation with the neighborhood, that we can get a variety of perspectives, not only from the building design standpoint and a site planning perspective, but thinking about sustainability, thinking about community, and really all the fruits that make up the nucleus and program for the project. So we really see the design as kind of the editing place, but really the voice and the heart is coming from the neighborhood.
We wanted to really make sure that we dealt with the street here, right? Ogden and face the street.
Right.
So we've got a residential space here, but then we've got retail kind of along this corner. And then starting here with this little alley space, which we think can be a great public space, is we've got these little micro retail spaces that New Covenant will essentially own and operate and allow small businesses to sort of start up.
One of the things that I heard from you when I first met you was that you were excited about design that felt like it was new and vibrant, and it wasn't about I don't know, that it honored the kind of context and it honored the neighborhood and the scale of the neighborhood, but it also felt like something that could be an icon. It could be a landmark that people would want to go to. So we're introducing this canopy with a kind of perforated metal and like this kind of almost ombre fade on the columns so that they disappear at the ground floor to create something that people really remember. Like, hey, I'm going to meet you at that pavilion. I'm going to meet you at that place so people know. Yeah.
This would be like Lawndale Square. This would definitely speak for, that space.
There's economic development all throughout this process here. And so again, that's what we're looking at in terms of helping revitalize the community, is giving the opportunity for that dollar to circulate more within North Lawndale. And that's going to be a catalyst for that.
Yeah. We're thinking that maybe also there's like a map here that can connect you to other places in North Lawndale. Like one of the things I was thinking is if you go here and you're like, hey, I like this, I like the art that's here, I like the food that's here, that then you could see a map and it would connect you to other places as well. So really trying to think about how to design this space as a catalyst and a connector, as well as a place that people come together and in the middle.
That's the corner we want to be at. That's Lawndale.
Imagine having shops like that all along here,
Yeah.
where they're getting unique items. That's going to attract people to this community all over.
Absolutely.
And that is the legacy that Route 66 Ogden, however you define the street, there is that potential and the history of businesses thriving and surviving. And
North Lawndale has a history of entrepreneurship. You know, 125,000 people here at one time, and they had thriving business in this community. So it's in our DNA already.
Opening up on Ogden makes it easier to bring and solicit business. You can build out, you can hire more people. I can offer more services, so I can bring in a full pharmacy, but also capitalize and take advantage of my strength, which is in retail. Now you can offer services to people. Now you can do business and hire people around there. So that's the key. You want to be where the action is. And being on Ogden puts me in the game.
One of the things that I think people like about our operation, about New Covenant, is that they know that our team cares about them as individuals. Certainly we're going to make sure they put that business plan together, but we care about them as people. So in our process, you know, I tell my team that sometimes we got to get through that piece before we can get to the business side. It's amazing the talent that's here in North Lawndale. It's absolutely astounding. The only thing that we're missing is access to resources. This building is going to be a resource for people who have brilliant ideas, who have drive, who have passion, and who are just looking for somebody to say, hey, show me how to do it.
When things are being built, it brings a sense of security, you know, and it opens up the neighborhood for more, you know, creativity. And the people in the neighborhood need that. They love that. With this project, it's definitely hopeful to make something happen.
Thank you very much, Pivot North Lawndale. Thank you, Mr. Olson and Mr. Brown. We are now going to open it up to questions. And again, we ask that you submit your questions in the chat or in the Q&A. While we wait for those questions to come, I wonder, Mr. Brown, is there anything that you would like to add?
What I'd like to add at this point is that the project that you just saw on the video is one that, again, as we were putting these plans together, we thought about what the community wants. In the past, we've had town hall meetings where we asked the community what they would look for in a center like this, and a lot of that information got incorporated into this plan. Greg, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think I'd just like to say that this is a starting point. I mean, we put this plan together with a fairly robust community planning strategy, but we understand that there's a lot of work in front of us, and that we really need to connect with a larger group of people to really weigh in on how we guide it to the next level.
Thank you both for that. We have a question that has come in, and that is, what type of housing will be available in the development?
Yeah, well, right now we anticipate a 54-unit housing complex on top of the retail. In the 54 units, they're currently comprised of 30 one-bedroom, 16 two-bedrooms, and 8 three-bedrooms, and that's all subject to change. We've got 8 market rate units, 33 60% AMI affordable units, 10 50% AMI units, and 3 30% AMI units. We don't envision vouchers at this point. Certainly, if we could get vouchers, we would have less of a burden on the city's soft sources.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. We will move on to the next question, And that is, can you share a little bit about how many permanent jobs this project will bring to the community?
Yeah, I'm going to look at my notes. So we've obviously estimated construction jobs, and those are temporary jobs, and we've estimated that to be anywhere between 220 and 300 jobs. And we typically engage in a pretty robust community hiring program, so that we would be hiring from North Lawndale up to 10 to 20 individuals. Our estimate is probably a low estimate, but we've estimated about 32 permanent jobs, and those are made up of 10 incubator jobs, 2 to 4 residential jobs, and then 8 plus 12, 20 additional jobs out of the retail spaces.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. There is a comment made by one of our attendees that this is a great presentation. They would like to know how much would the rent be in the units, and how would Pivot affect rent prices overall in North Lawndale?
I think the team together has tried to design a project that will really meet a lot of people where they are income-wise. So, 30% AMI has very low rents. If they're not subsidized, they're anywhere from $392 for a 1-bedroom to $470 for a 2, $544 for a 3. The bulk of the units are 60% AMIs. So 1-bedroom is $879, $1055 for a 2-bedroom, $1218 for a 3. There's also 50% AMI units, and that's area median income. So $716 for a 1-bedroom, $860 for a 2, $993 for a 3. And then the market units are slightly higher than the 60%. They're about 80% AMI units. To answer the second question, I don't know. I don't think it will have a huge impact on rents, because I think there's a diversity of incomes and rents within our building.
Thank you very much. Our next question has to do with the budget. What is the total proposed budget for this development?
Yeah, we showed this earlier on the screen. So we're estimating, construction prices are changing daily, but currently estimating this to be a $27 million project.
Thank you very much for that. And there is a question about the age range that you are going to engage with the most. How will this targeted age range benefit North Lawndale the most?
Rodney, you want to answer that?
So when we look at this property, if you note, when Greg talked about the units and the size of the units, we're expecting that this property will house units everywhere from new families to senior citizens. What we have not pointed out yet is that each of these units will have their own individual balcony. So that affords people the privacy. If the senior citizen wants to go out and sit on a balcony by themselves, they can do that. So again, when we developed this, we understood that in North Lawndale, we've got people who are going to be starting families. We've got people with families already in place, and then also seniors that might be looking to move into the building as well. So we're looking to impact the entire age range, if you will. And in terms of how they will affect this, it'll be just like anything else in North Lawndale. We take into consideration what the community needs at all levels and determine what's the best route we can go in terms of what they're looking for and how we can best support them in addressing those concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. There is a question from our audience that asks, have you selected a general contractor?
Yes, GMA, led by Cornelius Griggs, which is an African-American owned firm and also a veteran firm, will be the general contractor.
And a second question, have you selected a manager for the properties?
Sure, it'd be Michael's management. So when Michael's develops properties and makes guarantees, we typically use our own property management firm.
The incubator space will be owned and managed by New Covenant.
Right.
Thank you both. There is a question inquiring about the strategy for hiring from the community with this project, especially because it's being governed under a project labor agreement.
So I'll start and Greg can finish. We are very firm believers in hiring from the community. That's been the practice of New Covenant. That's been the practice that's part of my role at NLCCC in looking at what we can do internally. So as we look at this, and as we talked about this, we'll make sure that we partner with local employment agencies to determine the best way in which to meet the needs of this project as we go forth and build on it.
Yeah, and typically we'll develop an inclusion plan with our general contractor, which will involve contracting with a local workforce group, which will help us make outreach to the community, identify and rank folks by their skill sets, and connect them with contractors. Some of the ways we've been able to get people, either find people who were once in a union and we can maybe pay past dues, get them back in the union, and then also be as creative as possible during the construction process to figure out how to use local hiring through the security firms and final cleaning firms so that we can maybe go around or not use union labor in those trades.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Along the lines of engaging the community, there is a question that asks, how does the development team prepare the community to take advantage or capture some of the construction spent?
I'm not quite sure exactly what the question is asking, but I think typically what if it's about identifying North Lawndale businesses who could contribute to the construction, I think that would probably be what we'd try to do. And that would really be part of our inclusion plan that we develop with our contractor, and figuring out who's existing in the community. You know, we've bought cabinets from Ace Hardware before, who are located in the community. Sometimes there's security companies or catering events that'll happen in the community. So I think it's really just about being intentional and making every effort to understand the needs and desires.
Thank you for that. Another question asks about, does the affordable unit breakdown meet the new DOH requirements?
I'm not sure what the new DOH requirements are, so I'm assuming they do. It's a mixed income site, and it's got primarily affordable under 60% AMI for tax credits.
Thank you.
Greg, if I can add to that, Greg.
Sure.
This is Jaime with Canopy. We're the architects working alongside Future Firm on the DOH standards. If the question is regarding the unit types and the unit sizes, the current design does support the new revised unit standard.
Thank you for taking that, Mr. Torres. There is a question that indicates that research and community feedback has shown a desire for larger family units. Would your development team be open to offering more 3-bedroom units?
Short answer is yes. I think it's just about fitting everything inside of the box. The one thing we found in building affordable housing is we like to manage with an on-site manager and an on-site maintenance person. It just provides better oversight. And usually we need to be in the low 50s to plus units. So that's really what's driving the size of the development.
And if I might add to that, as we mentioned earlier, we're planning to do some more community engagement and town hall meetings about this project. So we'll get a chance to have community get a chance to have some additional input in terms of what they're looking for here. So a lot of things that we're talking about here will be flexible enough to be modified if the community deems that we need to do that.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you both. There is a question here that asks how you are going to prioritize the youth in the community through your project.
Well, I'll start. One of the things we're looking at when you think about the incubator center that we're going to have there, we're planning on having entrepreneurial training classes and programs for the youth so that we can give them an opportunity to have a head start in learning what it looks like to start a business, run a business, and we'll have other opportunities there. That building that we're looking at is going to have a community center that can hold up to 100 people in it. So again, as the community has a need for different programs and different opportunities, that center will be available for us to be able to do those things.
Yeah, and one thing I would add too, Michael's has a foundation that we started about 20 years ago called the Michael's Educational Foundation. And anyone who lives in a Michael's property has access to scholarship funds. And we award anywhere from $750,000 to $1.5 million in scholarship funds a year to our residents.
Thank you both. Given that there may be individuals in the community who are low skilled, low income, do you have any plans to include that population?
Absolutely. I mean, as far as we're concerned, again, working with local agencies, we'll look to see how we might be able to get people trained for certain positions. Those that might be looking to start a business, will help them with that as well. So we're not going to turn anybody away. Our focus will be to try to help make sure we're building up people as they come to our center to figure out what they can do and how they can do it.
Well, and the great thing is that the engagement process is started early. The earlier you engage with a development like this, you can really create plans that address things like that.
Mr. Olson, Mr. Brown, outside of dining, what other potential businesses are expected to be engaged with this project?
Well, one of the things that's unique about North Lawndale is that we're planning this. This is designed, quite frankly, to house businesses where the owners live in North Lawndale, and we've got a bevy of owners of different types of businesses that are already looking to get started. For example, we have one entrepreneur who has a jewelry business, and she makes some very unique pieces that we believe are going to draw people from all over the city. I've got another potential candidate that makes watches. And so when we look at what's available in North Lawndale, part of our approach is going to be is to pull people from the community who are doing unique things that we know bring value and have those businesses in our pop-up shops, help them get started. And again, have them be part of the attraction to come to North Lawndale to find pieces of things that you can't necessarily find somewhere else.
And I'll add that we just completed a project at 4400 Grove in Bronzeville with 8 commercial spaces that we leased up to all African-American tenants. And, you know, I think the key thing to understand is going into a development is you have to have flexibility, because somebody you identify today as a potential tenant may not be a tenant when you finish the project in 2 or 3 years. So it's really important to sort of be able to build in that flexibility to the space, because when you do actually complete the project and people are ready to occupy, it may be a different person.
Thank you very much. Earlier, there was a question about engaging the community. This question is a little bit more specific. Have you already engaged neighboring residents to prepare for this type of project?
Well, we actually engaged people from North Lawndale even before this project was conceived. So we've always been thinking about an entrepreneurship center and thinking about how we can build that and what that would look like. And so we had a process that we used maybe about 1.5 years ago where we started those kinds of questions and started those kinds of engagements. When we look at the people that were involved, you saw on the screen here, you saw Bobby and you saw Edwin, you know, they are involved in this process and also giving their input to this process as well. So again, we're looking at people who are already in the community, what they're doing and what their thoughts are. And so you saw us around the table talking about this. Yes, we are engaging local residents right now in the process.
And specifically around preparing folks to qualify for housing, has any of that happened?
No, not yet. I think we'd probably wait until the project was awarded, and then we'd find a community partner who could help us work on that.
Okay, and part of that question asked about where the current corporate offices for Michael are.
Sure, Michael's is based in Camden, New Jersey. We've been at the forefront of redeveloping that town just outside of Philadelphia, and we've got satellite offices. We've been in Chicago for 20 years, and we're based in Printers Row.
Thank you. And there is a question about the construction jobs and whether they are only union jobs.
Yeah, I don't think that's easy to answer. I think the city has signed a project labor agreement with a union, so that my understanding, and I don't know if this is still in the case, but it was the case a few years ago, so that that projects over 25 million needed to go to general contractors who are signatory. We've been able to kind of work and find ways to plug people into the development outside of that, and also get people sponsored into union in specific areas. It's a challenge. It's a lot of work, and we'd need a lot of help from the contractor and the community.
There is a question about energy efficiency. Does the design include attention to energy efficiency, sustainability, and technology integration? And they give examples of broadband internet, community area Wi-Fi, and having a smart building and living space is part of your project.
Jaime, do you want to take that?
Sure. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, that's a wonderful question. This project is targeting LEED Gold certification, and that's a cousin of Passive House and other green building standards. From an energy efficiency perspective, we would classify this building as a high performance envelope type project, where the building skin from the roof to the walls is tight enough where you're going to rely on very little heating and cooling elements hopefully saving utility costs for the tenants and ultimately the operator of the building. Just to make sure we're answering the question here, on the internet side and the Wi-Fi question, I don't know, Greg or Rodney, if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, I would just say that typically we definitely will, there'll be broadband. It's pretty easy to get broadband into the building. And then what we typically do is we'll broadcast free Wi-Fi to certain areas within the building. So you may be sitting on that roof deck that you can see here and be able to use your iPad, or you might be in the fitness center and want to look at something, or on the ground floor as well.
Along similar lines, there's a question: what is stormwater management for this design proposal? Are there other green infrastructures?
Yeah, I mean, we're showing a lot of permeable pavers on site. That's really the best approach that we've done in the past, is been able to use permeable pavers, which are, the brick pavers at parking lots as well as walkways, and then use rock underneath, and that stores stormwater on site and then releases it slowly into the system. We're looking at a lot of different materials on site. I mean, the building's not been designed yet, but we certainly put that at the forefront. One of the things Jaime didn't mention is really what drives most of our energy efficient sustainability goals is trying to pass savings on to tenants. So if we can make an efficient building rather than just trying to check boxes and sort of win awards, we really try to make it so that tenants have lower utility bills. And that could be from water. Well, they don't pay for water, but gas and electric in particular.
What would your strategy for attracting retail entrepreneurs be?
So as we look at that again, our primary focus is going to be working on local entrepreneurs. When it comes to attracting retailers, we suspect that part of what's going to be available is when they see this building and they see the traction that we're getting, we're going to have people coming on saying, hey, can we locate there? So we want to make sure first and foremost that we provide this opportunity to local business owners and local entrepreneurs. There are plenty of other places where retailers can go and set up shop. This is a place where we're looking to make sure that North Lawndale gets preferential treatment.
And one of the things I'll add is if we do our underwriting right when we design the project, we can offer rents substantially lower, or at least lower than a typical brand new build out space would be. We also understand the challenges of people coming into a building like this. So our tenants have typically worked with groups like Rodney's and others to access neighborhood opportunity funds. And we also develop a pot of money that the owner or that the developer can contribute towards tenant build out, so that when you're coming into a space, you're not having to outlay $250,000 or $150,000 to build out a space.
And our team has been successful in helping people get those kinds of funds in the past, so we'll continue to do that work.
Thank you. Thank you both, Mr. Brown and Mr. Olson. This wraps up this segment. If you'd like to do a quick close, we invite you to do so.
I'd just like to thank everyone for the opportunity to present this and let everyone know that who's watching that this is just the first step in a long planning process. And we look forward to engaging further with you and developing a really fabulous project for North Lawndale.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
And now we invite our next team from
Hello, how are you? Hello, everyone. My name is Will Brown. Is it okay to start? Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Unmute it. You can hear it? Okay. Hello, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So my name is Will Brown. I'm with the Ogden Proxima Group. I'm joined with me today are my partners, Rana Patel and Ravi Patel, and as well as our other partners as well, which are the architecture and design led by Justin Hutton at the Hutton and Hutton. At Ashlar Construction, Zoe will be with us today as well, who also has led and worked with over 100+ projects on both the south and west sides of Chicago, and as well as the Ogden Commons project right down the street from our current project. In addition to that, Cng Construction will be with us today, and the representative of Cng will be Lauren Green. And North Lawndale Employment Network will be joining us. And the representative of that would be Brenda Palms Barber. And Rayed will be with us today as well with COSME Advisors. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to present to you today. And with that said, can you please present our video?
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
This project is about a $48 million project. We're really excited about this project. We are a family-based entity, multi-generational, and we're also partnering with an entity that is a multi-generational entity as well. We consist of a very diverse group of team members, both MBE and WMBE, and we're really excited about all the jobs and possibilities that we are bringing to this project. And these are permanent jobs. We're not talking about jobs that are here just for the short term for the project as it starts. We're talking about managing, and we're talking about development, something that our organization prides ourselves on. In addition to this being a hotel project, this also brings square footage of retail space, restaurants, community areas as well. Those communities, from community development organizations to the small entrepreneur that's looking to create their brand, has the opportunity to use our space. Yes, I am a Chicago native. I didn't fly here, I grew here, as many people say. And it gives me great pride to be a public school student to be part of this project. We want to make sure that we have something for the true Chicagoans, not something that we're going to come and say, oh, we're going to have this one job, but we want to come back and back for generations to know that is something that we brought to this city and we brought to our neighborhoods that are truly beneficial and impactful to our organizations.
Hutton and Hutton Architects and Engineers are the design and architectural piece to this project. We've been around since 1895, a generational firm, 5 generations. We've been around for this period of time because we care about the community that we serve. We're committed to those communities. And we also have a long history of successful projects similar in nature. We have a very strong working relationship with Proxima, and we're very excited about our team that we have put together.
One of our main design goals for the project is to establish a strong urban presence within the North Lawndale community. To accomplish this, we're allowing the building to stretch from corner to corner along Ogden Avenue. This creates a continuous street wall, giving a sense of scale and enclosure to the site and the surrounding neighborhood. Along this new street frontage, we'll want to help create a walkable community by providing ground floor space for a neighborhood grocery, cafes with outdoor seating, and community-run pop-up retail spaces. In addition, we're proposing closing the service drive along Ogden Avenue and repurposing it as a community green space with areas for public gathering and performances, as well as the display of community art projects. The massing of the project steps down toward the corner of Ogden and Homan to create outdoor terraces and to help the building relate to neighborhood scale. The hotel program will support local businesses by bringing economic activity to the neighborhood and by providing amenity spaces such as a rooftop bar and terrace, a health club, meeting spaces for local businesses and entrepreneurs. In addition, indoor parking will be available to visitors to the site. Project sustainability will be achieved through the use of green roofs, outdoor terraces, ground level green spaces, and sustainable energy sources. We'll also be focused on the use of durable materials that speak to the neighborhood's rich history and industrial past.
Ashlar Construction is a Chicago-based construction firm founded by my father, Zali Carradine. As an MBE, DBE, and Section 3 company, Ashlar Construction has had the pleasure to be on many of Chicago's most notable projects. Over the years, Ashlar Construction has had the pleasure of not just using their 35 years of experience to build Chicago, but also to become a bridge between Chicagoans and what they are trying to build. Ashlar Construction has selected Cng Construction, Chicago's own, to work on this project. Recently, Cng actually completed the first Hyatt House extended stay in June 2019. Ashlar and Skinder have had the opportunity to work on multiple projects in the city of Chicago over the last 15 years, and they are very excited to work on the Ogden Proxima project. As a part of this project, Ashlar and Skinder are committed to providing at least 5 job opportunities from the community for this project. Cng Construction Supply was founded by me and my sister, Ashley, in 2009. We are a 100% minority and women-owned supply company based in the south suburbs of Chicago. We got our start at the direction of our father, so we are second generation to the construction industry. We spent the last 12 years building our business and partnering with different agencies across Cook County, from the Cook County Department of Transportation to Chicago Housing Authority and many others. We've also spent this time working with general contractors and working on some pretty amazing jobs in Chicago. We are excited to once again partner with Ashlar and Skinder and the rest of the Ogden Proxima team to bring this project to life in the North Lawndale community. We are committed not to just building the community, but building with the community. Cng makes the point to work with different agencies and companies to make sure that we are giving opportunities to other local companies, as well as having community hires on projects when possible.
The North Lawndale Employment Network is really pleased to be a partner with the Ogden Proxima project. And the reason is that it's all about advancing our quality of life plan, which is including economic development, community wealth building, and ultimately creating local jobs for local residents here in North Lawndale. What's important to us in participating in this partnership is that these are not just regular jobs. These are jobs that include entry-level, middle wage, and senior level positions with salaries ranging anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000 a year. These are family supporting wages that this opportunity will bring. And what's exciting to me is that North Lawndale is a place to come visit. It is going to become a place where families will want to come and visit our Chicago Botanic Gardens and visit the Martin Luther King Museum. I mean, there's so much history in this community. As a member of the North Lawndale Community Coordinating Council and a steering committee member and chair of the Workforce Development Committee, it is so important that we are working together to reduce the unemployment rate in North Lawndale by 10% by 2024. This partnership is about advancing that very important goal. We will reduce the unemployment rate in North Lawndale by partnering with committed employees and working with developers like Proxima.
Thank you very much, Proxima team. We are going to open it up to general questions. Please submit your questions in the Q&A and in the chat. And I would like to start off with a similar question that was made before. And we know that this type of project entails a great deal of work and possibly disruption to the community. How do you plan to engage the community and inform them of the progress?
I can answer that. Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Riyad Kazmi. I'm one of the partners, part of the Ogden Proxima project. For us, we're going to for sure lean heavily on our partnership with North Lawndale Employment Network. Not only are they going to help us recruit, train, and employ individuals from North Lawndale, and I want to make sure it's highlighted. This is a bare minimum of 30 full-time permanent jobs. A lot of people talk about construction jobs, but construction jobs come and leave. That said, though, our goal is to have at minimum 10 of those from North Lawndale. To specifically answer this question, we will begin the process, if awarded, to start speaking with the community to make this as least disruptive of a project as possible. The way we intend to do that is to have proper planning and to ensure that not only is the community participating, but so are the various city departments that would be included in this, whether it's DPD, CDOT, AIS, or streets and sanitation. Whomever it is, we want to make sure we're all at the table at once so that we can put together a program and a plan that assists everyone in this community, as well as those who are helping to develop and bring this opportunity to North Lawndale.
Mr. Cosme, thank you so much for that. There is a question for the team asking if you would please repeat the number of construction jobs that are going to the community. They thought that they only heard 5.
So we're going to allow Zoli to take on that question.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I think what Ashley mentioned was 5 as a minimum, but our goal is to hire approximately 10 to 15 local candidates from the neighborhood, and not only just hire 15 residents from the neighborhood, we are going to work with the unions heavily to help train these individuals in various unions within the trades.
Thank you, Mr. Carradine. There is a question with a comment that says, with hotels in serious trouble all over the country, what economic metrics would help you to believe that this project would work?
Well, the economic metrics behind this is really what we're looking at as temporary matrix. We anticipate by the time of the completion of this project that the general economics will be back in place. And since that we're talking on the economic benefits of that, this is the economic benefits because this is 30 jobs that are permanent and not temporary. In addition to that, we're bringing training and development for the local community as well. So, you know, you can give a fish, but if you teach one to fish, you have enough fish for a lifetime.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. There is a question about how this hotel would benefit North Lawndale residents.
Well, we actually just started speaking to that. We plan on actually creating, in conjunction with the North Lawndale team, is creating a leadership development program, which starts an individual from a no voice, no experience to a point in which they are at management level. So now they're not only are able to learn, work, and bring something to our organization, but also to other organizations as well.
You know, I'm sorry, I'll just add if that's really quickly that in addition to what's already been mentioned, I just think it's important that people also understand that North Lawndale is becoming a destination location. And so not only would they be staying and residing in a hotel, but then they would be spending money in the community as well. They're going to go and buy food. They're going to go on tours. They're, you know, we have Mount Sinai Hospital System that's, you know, down the road. So there might be family members that want to go visit other loved ones that are in the hospital. So I think that North Lawndale benefits not just through the jobs that are being created, but that there is an opportunity for visitors to come and have a wonderful, safe, and beautiful place to reside while they're with us.
And Ravi, before we move on, Ms. Norma, Ravi, will you please speak to, so that everyone understands the economic impact, not only of employment and what Ms. Brenda said about people spending money, but what the statistics show on how much a hotel brings to its nearby community.
So Smith Travel reports the industry gold standard for statistical analysis and industry data for hospitality provides us a basic model that says for every $100 that are spent in a hotel room, a guest will spend another $200 outside of that hotel room when they're traveling. That being said, our 200 unit property is projected stabilized revenues at about $10 million. So not only are we bringing $10 million to the table every year, but we're bringing an additional $20 million to the table for the community every year to consume. And that means spending money in restaurants, that means spending money on tours, that means spending money within our community. And so we're working with ideally North Lawndale Employment Network, ideally the community partners that we will develop along the way, ideally the residents that surround us to help consume that $20 million pie that is generated every year. And that does not even begin to talk about the additional property tax revenue, the additional innkeeper tax revenue that is generated by this project.
Thank you much, Mr. Patel. along the lines of customers, you mentioned individuals that may be connected to receiving services at Mount Sinai. In addition to those, who else are your target customers to stay at this hotel?
Part of our objective is to bring people to Lawndale, as Brenda had mentioned previously. We want to bring them into there. We want individuals coming from Sinai and also the studios as well.
From CineSpace.
Right?
CineSpace.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. In addition to jobs from construction as well as jobs moving forward, will those only be union?
At this present time, we are working with unions to work on this project, and we're going to work with the unions actually to start an apprenticeship program where they will allow us to train individuals on the site.
Thank you so much.
As of right now, yes, union.
Thank you, Mr. Carradine. There is, actually, I'm combining two questions. Does the team have financing in place? And if so, who are those financing partners that you have signed agreements with?
So I can speak to that. Our financing partners are traditionally regional banks, regional capital institutions. We have introduced the project to our financial partners. We have gotten a thumbs up from them, but honestly, there will be no commitments from any financing partner until we're selected, until we begin developing the development plan, until things are a little more solidified. It is too early for me to even disclose the groups of people we've been talking to, but to Will's point, this is a $48 million project. And so we would be talking to many of the capital companies within the city of Chicago and the surrounding area that can support a project of that size.
And Ravi, please speak to, sorry, Ms. Norma. Ravi, will you please speak to you all's experience so that everyone is aware that you are more than capable and experienced to bring a hotel of this size to North Lawndale?
Yes, and so we have in our collective 75-year history developed over 30 hotels, ranging from a 60-room unit all the way up to a 200-room building. And we are very, very well versed in developing mid-scale, upper mid-scale hotels that are primarily of the big three brands, IHG, Hilton's, and Marriott's. And that's what we plan to deliver to this location.
Thank you so much. And they're asking who will own the hotel?
It will be a collection of our investors and would be the primary owners and the bank, right? Until we.
Thank you so much. And this question is from Ms. Brenda. What are the food option and commercial options for visitors in the area if people feel that it is not safe?
That was a twist. Well, I think that we have to make sure that we change the narrative around how North Lawndale is a safe community. It is. We're through the North Lawndale Community Coordinating Council that has 13 different committees: green space, safety, workforce development, economic development. We're all a part of this collective effort to make sure that North Lawndale is a safe and wonderful place to visit and to raise a family. In terms of food, I'm excited that there are a number of new restaurants that are coming in. Much of this is being driven by the economic development that is taking place under the leadership of our aldermen. CineSpace was mentioned. So you have a huge body of individuals that want and look for good quality food, but also the Ogden Commons project. So as a result, Ja Grill, which is a wonderful Jamaican food restaurant, is going to have residents right off of Ogden. Steak and Shake, because some folks still like to have their hamburgers and French fries. But then we also have Momentum Cafe, which is a wonderful healthy food cafe that will be in that space. And I have to also share that I2B Love Cafe that is run by the North Lawndale Employment Network and Sweet Beginnings will also have a cafe. There's the Green Tomato. There are several wonderful places that are on the horizon. And so this is going to be a place where you have wonderful, healthy food options as well.
And
also, Brenda, Soleil Chicago is coming to the ward in the next year.
Thank you. And it should be added that as a part of this project, we have our architect on, an engineer, that there will be opportunities for our local restaurateurs to have first dibs inside of this hotel, not only within the rooftop, which it is a green rooftop for individuals that do not or are not able to look and see what we've provided. It has a green rooftop, but it will also include a restaurant there, as well as a restaurant commercial space on the first floor. And as you saw in the video, that was displayed. But I wanted to highlight that, and I really wanted to highlight it because Brenda mentioned Ogden Commons. What's so great is the general contractor on this, as you heard, Mr. Zali Karadine of Ashlar. He's done well over 100 plus projects on the south and west sides where he's either been the lead or participated in the work. And that also includes Ogden Commons. So he is familiar, as well as Lauren Green. I would like if she had the opportunity to share a little bit about some of the projects that they've done, as they are also a construction partner. And you do not typically see women, let alone women of color, who are as active as her company is. So I want to make sure she's highlighted, regardless of whether some of the questions are, and talk about how what she's done can assist with the partnership with the various festivals and concerts that are coming, from Riot Fest to everything else that comes to Lyric Lemonade, as well as our partnership with Cinespace that we hope to have, and even the Illinois Medical District, to make sure that we're the hub that brings us all together. Lauren, you want to tell a little bit really quickly?
Yes, thank you for the introduction. I'll be quick because I know people have more questions, but just a quick little history on some of the projects that CNG has been able to be a part of over the years. We've definitely worked on very similar projects to this one, supplying materials for hotels. We've done pretty large scale projects. We were fortunate enough to be a part of Wrigley Field. All 6 phases of that renovation. We even were awarded the Most Valuable Diverse Business Partner Award. I'm sorry, too many words. I have to count it all out on my fingers. But so we've just been able to build some pretty strong relationships, not just with contractors throughout the city, but as well with different manufacturers. So we've been able to supply everything from the rough end, from your framing, your metal, your lumber framing, to even the finishes. So when we're not working on Wrigley Field and other hotels, we do a lot of multifamily residential projects. So very similar to hotels when you're talking 50 to 200 units. Project we are currently contracted on Southbridge consists of 2 buildings, each over 100 units. And this is kind of, I have to say, after 12 years, this is our thing. So we can definitely handle the supplies on this.
Okay, Ms. Green spoke a little bit about the diverse development team. There is a question about how that team was brought together, and were there any North Lawndale residents involved as you developed your vision?
Do you want to lead that? Yeah, sure, if you don't mind. So we really came together. A few of us knew each other, and I happen to live not too far from North Lawndale, just north and west of it at Western and Ogden. And it felt like it was my backyard. And so when this Invest Southwest opportunity presented itself, I connected with, I knew you need the developer and the architect first and foremost. And so I connected with Hutton and Hutton, who's the architect and engineers, and Ravi and his group from Proxima, based on their experience and what they've done and being aware of what they do. I said, hey, this could be an opportunity for you to truly make an economic impact here. You know, a lot of times, a lot of projects, especially as part of this, are presenting housing, and housing is needed. The problem is we have to have individuals to have money to be able to pay for their housing, to have money to be able to put food on their tables. And so what I was adamant about doing was to bring the economic impact because I know what that can do is help solve a lot of problems. And so we all came together. I had worked with Cng separately as well as Ashlar. And once we all talked together, we came together and I said, hey guys, I have the perfect partner who truly represents North Lawndale from an entrepreneurial aspect, as well as bringing new people jobs. And that was obviously, as everyone knows on this call, Miss Barber. And so we were fortunate to have her participate.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cosme. We have just a couple of minutes left. I'm going to see if we can squeeze a couple more questions. I'm going to combine one question, or two questions rather. Have you determined a range for the cost of the hotel rooms? And along with that, would this team still develop a hotel elsewhere in North Lawndale if not selected for this particular project?
We're going to focus on the mid to upper mid scale franchise entities. And with our rates, we're going to be at market rate. Because of the area being a little bit further west, we're going to see the market rates be a little bit lower than what you would say and say the Fulton market area. And then the second question, you want to take a second? What's the second part again? Can you repeat the second part of the question?
So the question is, would you consider still opening a hotel in North Lawndale, even if it wasn't through this project?
Sure. So we would have to take a look at the opportunity, the sites available. We would have to take a look at what the package is. On the surface, I would say yes, but I would also say that we are extremely committed to this project. We are extremely committed to making this successful, and we're in love with the site. So we're not looking at a plan B right now.
Okay, and we will end with a final question. Is there a hotel brand or franchise that is being considered?
But we have that once we get awarded the project.
I'm sorry, we are not hearing the answer.
He was saying that we have 3 identified, which is the Marriott, Hilton, and Hyatt. But before we actually make a full commitment to that, we have to make sure that we have awarded the project before we are able to make full commitments and have LOIs in place.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, and thank you, Proxima team. If you would like to give any closing remarks, we invite you to do so now.
Thank you, Ms. Norma. First and foremost, we appreciate the opportunity to respond to Invest Southwest. And like I said, particularly this location in North Lawndale. Between how much North Lawndale is growing, including CineSpace expanding, the Illinois Medical District expanding, hospitals expanding like St. Anthony's, as well as others that are not too far away or even right down the street, as well as Ogden's Commons coming. People need places to stay that are affordable, that can actually help them get to where they need to be and also feel safe. And we hope to include the community, as you see here, in various aspects that are commercial and retail that are available, as well as being possible restaurateurs. And lastly, and most importantly, being able to bring good paying jobs that are well above minimum wage. These are an average of $35,000 up to $70,000. So on average around $45,000. So we hope to be able to bring this opportunity to you and partner with you as we expand.
Thank you so much, Proxima team. And now we are going to move on to our last presenter, and that would be the Tapestry, El Tapiz. And so we welcome you and we invite you to give a quick introduction so that we can see your video.
Well, good evening. My name is Richard Townsell. I'm the Executive Director of the Lawndale Christian Development Corporation. And before we get started, I know everybody has been sitting down for almost 2 hours. So I'm gonna ask you, if you can, to kind of stand up and shake your arms and legs out, because all this sitting around for a long time, I'm sure is driving everybody crazy. I'm a former high school teacher at Collins High School in North Lawndale. So I want folks to just kind of get loose and shake it out. As I said, I was born here. My wife and my 2 children and I have lived here for well over 30 years. I'm a proud member of the North Lawndale Homeowners Association, and I'm going to introduce the rest of our team. Whitney Smith, who's our development director and an attorney, born and raised in North Lawndale. Veronica Gonzalez, Joanna Cuevas, and Eric Price, from the NHP Foundation, who is our joint venture partner, Claude Powers and Kelly Powers of Powers and Sons Construction, an incredible construction company in Chicagoland for decades. Patricia Saldana-Natke and Maria Palat from Urban Works, an amazing architectural firm. I want to point out that a couple weeks ago, maybe last week in Cranes, there were 65 women that were named the top 65 women in design and construction in Chicagoland, and 2 of them are on our team, Pat Saldana-Natke and Kelly Powers. And with that being said, let's show the video.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend.
In 1966, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his family moved into a 3-flat building at 1550 South Hamlin to begin his campaign to end slum housing in North Lawndale. Once known as Historic Route 66, Ogden Avenue can now redefine its role as no longer a crosstown expressway, but a thoroughfare that links together 2 communities, North and South Lawndale.
I'm Veronica Gonzalez, Director of Development for the NHP Foundation, and I was born and raised in South Lawndale, also known as La Villita.
My name is Richard Townsell. I'm the Executive Director of the Lawndale Christian Development Corporation and also a member of the North Lawndale Homeowners Association. I was born and raised in North Lawndale, and we have been driving community investment for over 30 years. We've joined together because of the common history of both of our communities, North Lawndale and La Villita. We have a shared history of overcoming adversity. We have a shared history of having systemic disinvestment in our neighborhoods, and we decided to come together so that people who look like us, that live in our neighborhoods, will have an opportunity to rebuild.
Our collective track records of developing and preserving over 18,000 affordable housing units, working closely with residents, have led us to target developments that promote equity and dismantle injustice in the District of Columbia, Baltimore, Houston, Newark, and through this partnership in Chicago. NHPF and LCDC deliberately selected team members that themselves are minority and women disadvantaged business enterprises who have a practice of growing and scaling other MWDBEs.
With over 27 years of experience in architecture, interiors, and planning, Urban Works has always made it a point to raise those firms that are also minority. So for this particular project, we have partnered with structural, civil, landscape, MEP, and sustainability consultants that are all minority, as are we.
Doubling down with Powers and Sons Construction, a 3rd-generation African-American owned general contracting company, they've spent the last 50 years growing their own and others like them for future generations.
Welcome to the tapestry, El Tapiz.
We propose a mixed use of affordable housing and community fostering commercial space with a public plaza that gives North and South Lawndale residents a reason to embrace their commonality. A goal we hope to achieve is for our residents to pay 1 monthly bill, just rent. By putting more money back in families' pockets, our residents are able to invest in themselves through the robust resident programming we currently offer at all of our properties. We believe and practice that all residents should have an active voice in making decisions, charting their future, and work alongside them to develop and propose solutions which improve their quality of life.
Tapestry, El Tapiz, meets all of the design excellence criteria. Sustainability. High-quality, environmentally friendly building materials were carefully selected. The project will achieve Enterprise Green Communities certification. The green roofs at each level overlooking the newly activated streetscape will serve as visual elements denoting the commitment to sustainability. Innovation. A food hall, offices, and retail space on the first floor provide tangible evidence of the economic benefits of good design. The historic Greystone neighborhood housing outdoor stoops are translated into a modern, contemporary, bold stoop on Ogden. Equity through a public street plaza. This new, active outdoor street plaza will provide accessible public space for neighborhood gatherings, programmed activities for both young and seniors. A sense of place, an expression of Latinx and African American cultures. The extended window frame profiles and colorful street level creates a visual vibrancy. The project will feature new site-specific artist-made murals that represent the Latinx and African American residents. There'll be solar panels on the roof to create clean energy and permeable pavers in the ample parking area to help mitigate stormwater runoff. Communication. We're communicating and reflecting the cultural diversity of the neighborhood. The Tapestry El Tapiz will redefine Ogden Avenue as a unifier rather than a boundary. It'll thread together North and South Lawndale, respectively African American and Latino strongholds. This design embodies the new era of togetherness.
Was intentionally conceived directly in consultation with community's thought leaders, from the North Lawndale Community Coordinating Council, NLCCC, the North Lawndale Homeowners Association, NLHOA, Enlace Chicago, Art West, the National Museum of Mexican Art, Little Village Chamber of Commerce, and a host of individual and small group gatherings with local school leaders, including 24th Ward Alderman Michael Scott, 22nd Ward Alderman Michael Rodriguez, and State Representative Lakeisha Collins. These routes will ensure the project's long-term accountability and success metrics mirror local representation, activism, employment, and utilization of women and minority-owned businesses.
In a city where 59% of the population are Black and Latino, NHPF and LCDC deliberately selected team members who are themselves MBE and WBE firms, with a proven track record of meeting and exceeding the city's 26% MBE and 6% WBE participation requirements, as well as city resident hiring requirements. The Tapestry El Tapiz will bring 50 permanent jobs and 170 temporary construction jobs for the community.
In addition to the resident wealth building initiatives, we reinforce community wealth building by partnering with the Staines Family Foundation's commitment to grow 200 Black-owned businesses in North Lawndale, and building on Chicago Neighborhood Initiative's successful 100% minority-operated food hall. We understand the need to establish entrepreneurial scaffolding support that meets local entrepreneurs where they are and helps them on a path to their respective successes. The Westside Justice Center serves as an entrepreneurial navigator that supports the entrepreneurs in their pathways to success through critical programs and linkages to technical assistance, small business training, certifications, and microfinancing. This breaches a major barrier local entrepreneurs face: the seed capital and technical know-how of developing and growing a profitable business.
The NHP Foundation seeks out joint ventures where we can share our managerial strength in development finance, asset management, resident services, and fundraising to local programs. To date, we've created 16 partnerships investing $415 million of community wealth.
Wow. Thank you, Veronica. That was strong. Appreciate you sharing those great facts and those great words of wisdom. I'm Joe Soto. I'm from here. Been here all my life. You may hear me from time to time on the radio, and we want to thank you for your consideration. Leave you with these words from Maya Angelou, which served as the inspiration for the project concept. She said, "We all should know that diversity makes for a rich tapestry, and we must understand that all the threads of the tapestry are equal in value, no matter what their color." Again, the great Maya Angelou.
Thank you, Tapestry Tapiz, for your presentation. We are ready to ask you your first question. And that comes right after a comment about in this country, owning a home is the best way to build intergenerational wealth. The gap between white and Black-brown ownership is bigger today than it was in the 60s. How does your proposal address the financial hurdles and other kinds of barriers blocking Black and brown people from owning and building this type of wealth?
So this question, I believe, is about home ownership. And so
Correct.
This project is primarily, it is a rental development. Lawndale Christian Development Corporation and other partners are in the business of doing home ownership as well. So we're building 1,000 homes in our Reclaiming Lawndale campaign for working families. But the other way in which people get wealth is through small business development. And so I'm going to let Veronica answer that question as it pertains to our space.
Yeah, and I'll start with the residents. Good afternoon, excuse me, everyone. I will start with the residents who will live in the units. I think the robust programming that we offer all of our residents, such as on-time rent reporting to help them build credit. These are some of the very basic things that individuals need when they're looking to just get started to establish. We know that it takes approximately 2 years for someone to pivot and position themselves to be in a home ownership, path. And in order for that to happen successfully, you have to provide all of the financial wellness scaffolding that's included, starting by, as the owners, reporting their rent on time to help them build credit. So that speaks to the tenants that would be in the units and helping them to get there. As far as the entrepreneurial component, we are partnered with Chicago Neighborhood Initiatives and the Staines Family Foundation, which is specifically committed to growing 200 businesses in North Lawndale. Staines Family, for those of you who know, is committed only to funding in 2 neighborhoods, North Lawndale and North Chicago, up by Waukegan. So their commitment to growing entrepreneurs. I see one of the other questions asks about Lexington Betty's, not specifically Lexington Betty's, but a business such as Lexington Betty's that's in a position to grow, to have a second and third location, are precisely the kinds of businesses that Steve Rogers at the Staines Family Foundation would be targeting in order for their business to grow, for them to accumulate wealth, for them to be able to pass that on, whether it's a business or through home ownership, for themselves.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. There are several accolades about this being a great presentation. There is a question, what type of permanent jobs will be created?
So the 50 permanent jobs that will be created will be primarily in the building itself in terms of property management, as well as all of the commercial vendors. And so the food hall is an example. You saw pictures of the food hall that's in Pullman right now. We anticipate that there will be a Taste of Lawndale kind of food hall or Route 66 food hall. We haven't really decided on a catchy name yet, but each one of those will be their own individual stations. And so instead of restaurants having to put all the capital into building out their own space, each of them will sort of be like a food court. And so there'll be employees for each one of those stations. There'll be employees in other commercial spaces as well. And so that's where the employees will come from, in addition to employees in the building.
Thank you, Mr. Townsell. I just wanted to let you know we can hear you, but you sound a little bit lower than you did before.
Oh, I'll speak up then.
That's much better. Thank you so much for that. There's a question now about how what the rent would be in the units, and how would this project affect other rent prices in North Lawndale?
I'll let Veronica take that question.
For this development, we have rent set for 30%, 50%, and 60% AMI. What that means specifically is that rents will range between $400 up to $1,585 for 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units that we're proposing here in the development. We also have planned 25% of the units to receive rental assistance. And what that does is that it allows families to only pay 30% of their income towards their rent. So it really helps with that housing cost burden that a lot of families experience already in the community and throughout the city of Chicago. And that's why we intentionally went after the rental assistance for this development and planned for it to be included. But the rents themselves will range between $400 and $1,500.
Thank you, Ms. Veronica. There is also a comment of appreciation about the thought of bridging the Black and Latinx communities. There's also a question for the team about if they would still be willing to develop a food hall and affordable housing at this scale elsewhere in North Lawndale, if not selected for this particular site.
Yeah, of course we would. I mean, we're here. So, I'll be able to walk to this site. I'm not a stranger to North Lawndale. And so we want to make sure, as I'm sure the alderman wants to make sure and others, that Lawndale gets, rebuilt and repopulated and that local folks can benefit from it. So if it's not at this site, this is our plan A, but, we're willing to build it somewhere else as well.
Speak for me, Richard. That's right.
And Mr. Townsell, there's a question requesting that you clarify the capital stack again and how much equity the team is bringing to the project.
I think we have a slide that we wanted to put up to show the capital stack.
Yeah, we can do that if
if you can let us share, if you can let Veronica share screen, we can show you the capital stack.
Is this up?
Yep.
Is the capital stack up?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. So we have a total TDC of $31 million for the project. What you see are 3 scenarios that we envision that could help fund the development itself. So the first scenario is what we saw in the RFP, or modeled the same way as what we saw in the RFP. So just like the city envisioned that this would raise private debt itself, combined with low-income housing tax credits, and pursue other grants such as the ComEd grant for energy efficiency. We too created a scenario to match that, which would then request of the city an $11 million unserviceable gap, which again is in scale with what we saw in the RFP. But then we put our creative hats on and thought, well, how else could we go about this? And so we know how to use the twinning of 4 and 9% tax credits. And that's another option that, that we could pursue, and in fact would lower the city's assistance to the project if we could successfully obtain the 9% credits along with the 4%, which we've done before. So this is a common strategy for twinning different funding sources in order for us to bring a project to community. And then the third is an option that we are also pursuing, which is trying to drive more ownership to community. And that's using new market tax credits. So new market tax credits are probably, the simplest way to explain them is that they're a business loan essentially. And so we would there partner with the West Side Justice Center. They would become the operator and owner of the first floor commercial, and they would take charge of outfitting the food hall itself, and then all of the other programming on the first floor and retail space. That is a strategy that is still pending. But again, another very viable, feasible way for us to do this. So 3 different successful execution strategies that we've used in the past, totaling total development costs of $31 million.
Eric, thank you very much, Ms. Gonzalez. There's a question about stormwater management. Would you please address this for the design of the proposal and speak of other green infrastructures?
I'm going to pass that question to Pat because she is a brilliant architect and I am not. So Pat, take it away.
Sure, thanks, Richard. Yeah, absolutely. So we have permeable pavers in the parking lot for stormwater management. But in addition, it would be permeable pavers in the front also for the large plaza. We also have green roofs. As mentioned in the video, there's a green roof on the upper level and also a terrace on the second level. But that's just part of the strategy for a green building. Our office, Urban Works, we're also committed to the AIA 2030 Building Challenge. So every project we submit, and that means basically that by 2030, the goal is buildings to be carbon neutral by 2030. We also focus on a new initiative or new movement, which is called Design for Freedom, which is really looking at the ethical building materials supply chain. So not only will we pick materials that are sustainable, we're going to go even deeper, and we're going to look at the entire supply chain to make sure that they're ethically sourced and they are ethically treating the people that are fabricating the materials. In addition, as we said, we have a 100% MBE WBE full design team, including AP Monarch for sustainability. And Alicia I have to give a shout out. She's amazing. One of her projects just won the AIA COAT Top 10 Award, which is the Committee on the Environment. And she is focused on the Living Building Challenge. So we have all this talent on this team. In addition, it's included in our proposal that we have 7 electric vehicle charging stations out of the 36 parking spaces and the solar panels to focus on clean energy. So those are just a few of the things.
Thank you, Ms. Aldana, for expanding on that. Mm-hmm. Beyond construction, will you put in place opportunities for local and Chicago area small diverse businesses to be suppliers for this project through all phases of development and any ongoing procurement operations of this business?
So the interesting thing about this question is that Lawndale Christian Development Corporation does that, NHP Foundation does that all the time. So it's a regular part of our business. We use local suppliers, we use local pest control, we use local landscaping, we use local insurance companies. All of our projects are done by Black and brown general contractors, subcontractors, and architects. And after construction is over, we just continue with that as just a part of how we do business, because we're from the community. And if you're going to rebuild your neighborhood, then you got to put people to work in your neighborhood.
Thank you. There was a question about both establishing community and maintaining a sense of community in this development. Can you speak to that, please?
I'd have to know a little bit more about, ask a more direct question, I guess. So I think right now, the population of North Lawndale has gone down. And so we're trying to rebuild and repopulate the neighborhood. And so the goal would be that the 60+ units that would be in this development would be incorporated into the community and would draw from people that currently live in the community, people that have historic ties to the community that want to come back. We have a waiting list in our apartments right now of about 200 people that we can't even fulfill. And so there are folks in the neighborhood that want to live in a beautiful, safe, wonderful space like this. And our goal is to build it for them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Townsell. Has the team designed and built a net zero or living building challenge in Chicago before, as mentioned?
Another Pat question.
Yeah. So as I mentioned previously, we have a team. AP Monarch has done a COAT Top 10. In addition, ourselves, I'm also a professor at IIT, and I just taught a net zero studio. We have come very close to net zero, and that's our goal. So we have not completed one, but we have been on building projects that have been very close to the initiative. We have done a LEED Gold building near Midway Airport, and that was quite a few years ago. And we have done over 5,000 units of housing throughout Chicagoland and the Midwest and the East Coast that have gotten not only LEED, but either the National Green Building Standards or Enterprise Green Communities.
I'll add to that, I think that we have a lot of confidence in Urban Works' ability to get us there. This was something that I personally addressed in my career about 11 years ago, might be 12 now, when I worked for the Chicago Housing Authority. I was the first development manager to deliver a LEED Platinum building for the Housing Authority. So at the time, it had not been achieved. It wasn't something that our team had done, but I led the team. I understood the complexity of it. I had the support of the Housing Authority, administration at the time to pursue that. And given the liberty, was able to achieve that. And that was under the stimulus package of 2009. So it's not something that I'm scared of. It's not something that I worry that we won't be able to do. I have full confidence in the design team because we're committed to it. At the end of the day, we believe that's the right thing, because doing that, again, allows us to live up to that commitment that we just want the residents to have one bill, and that's rent.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez.
Yeah. And if I could just add, in regards to LEED, our office has completed over 40 LEED projects.
Thank you. There is a question about asking you to speak about the wealth building for residents that has been led by LCDC to date.
Sure, I'll turn that question over to Whitney Smith, our Deputy Director.
Thank you, Richard. That's a really good question. And it's worth highlighting that, LCDC is the only community organization involved in any of these projects. And in North Lawndale, that's specifically a community development organization, has been doing this work for 32 years. And so in that 32-year history, we've done a number of different things to boost economic development and bring wealth building to the community. I think most people will call on immediately the housing development that we've done, bringing hundreds of new single-family homes into the neighborhood. But beyond that, we've also organized for power in our community with our community residents who are our neighbors. As Richard mentioned before, he and I both our legacy community residents. So we were born and raised in the neighborhood. And so organizing for power means that we've done things like bringing city dollars into the community for various projects like our local library, working with our aldermen, bringing $2.2 million into the community, because it's not just about buildings for the commercial. It's not just about residential, it's about the amenities and access to the same quality of life that other neighborhoods have. And so one of the new things that we're doing in that same vein is organizing a cooperative development model with, again, our neighbors, our friends, our family in North Lawndale. That is going to be another wealth development tool as we build new small businesses in the community that will have jobs for folks from the community, but also, like the other projects mentioned, allow us to leverage our relationships outside of Lawndale to bring those dollars into Lawndale, which is what happens in other communities. And so thank you for asking that great question.
Thank you so much, Ms. Smith. Does this design close down the service drive, or was that only the previous hotel project?
We'll turn that to Pat.
Yes. So as in the RFP, we've mimicked that about enlarging that front area plaza in front of the building. So I think the answer is that we will be working hand in hand with CDOT to determine what is the best scenario there. Our design, just like all the other proposals, includes doing an ample front plaza in front of the building.
Okay, we have time for one more question. And this is a question asking that you clarify what is meant when you mention people having one bill. Is that rent? Does that mean that the property would include light, gas, water, and other amenities in that rent price?
That's a Veronica question.
That is exactly the goal, is for any one of our tenants to pay one monthly bill, and that's just rent. By doing and pursuing a net zero building, we'll be able to use renewables to be able to offset the other utility expenses. And so that's money that can go back into our tenants' pockets.
Thank you so much, Ms. Gonzalez, and thank you so much to the Tapestry Tapiz team. This concludes our Q&A for all three developers. And with that, I want to thank everyone for their wonderful questions. And I am going to turn it back over to Brian to close us out.
Do we get a final word like the other?
I apologize. You are correct, Mr. Townsend.
Good. I'm going to turn it over to Whitney Smith, who's going to give us the final word.
Thank you, Richard. I'd just like to start by thanking everyone for coming out and being in attendance. I know it's evening and it gets a little tough to be on these Zooms for this long, but we are truly grateful and blessed to be able to present this to you guys this evening. And if we're honored to be chosen, we pledge to continue working with our local North Lawndale partners like New Covenant CDC and NLEN to include their areas of expertise as well. And, it's just like I said before, we wanted to highlight how, we're CDC and we have 32 years of history and we know how to do this work. And because we know how to do this work, we've already had 5 community meetings talking with North Lawndale residents about this project in particular. We've had 10 letters of community support already provided to us for this very project. And so we just like to offer you the opportunity to join with us, legacy residents, as we build out our futures for ourselves.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, for the closing remarks. And thank you, Mr. Townsend, for your grace in pointing that out. And now I will hand it back over to Brian to close us out.
Thanks a lot, Norma. And just want to stop and acknowledge all the hard work and that was put in by the development teams, and thank them for their interest in the RFP and congratulate them on all the hard work that they put in. I want to thank all of our community members and attendees tonight for keeping the dialogue productive and respectful. We really appreciate that. And it really helps. And finally, huge round of virtual applause for Norma. You know, did an excellent job as a facilitator tonight. Huge thanks to her for keeping this moving and keeping us on task. So I just want to touch on some next steps here, and then I'll hand it off to Commissioner Maurice Cox and sorry, Commissioner, why don't you go ahead and join us right now, and then I'll hit on next steps before we head out.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Brian. This has been an amazing week. This is my third evening from 6 to 8, watching an extraordinary series of proposals on Monday in Bronzeville, last night here in North Lawndale, and again tonight. And I don't know about you, but this is pretty exhilarating. And it comes at the 2-year mark of Mayor Lightfoot's vision. And many of you remember that she said that she would hold up communities on the west side and on the south side of Chicago and bring them into this space of equitable development. And that she knew that the talent and the experience was out there. It was just the opportunity had to be presented, and they will come. And so I just want to applaud the development teams that have come forward with amazing proposals, enormous amounts of work, heart, passion that have gone into your work. And so Alderman Scott, my compliments to you for taking the leap of faith with the planning department, that we could add value and create an environment where people are competing to work in North Lawndale and to enhance that community. So again, thank you for your partnership. We now have an embarrassment of riches, and I am super excited to go to the next step, which will be a rigorous continuation of the evaluation of the projects. But I'm most proud of the hundreds of residents who have taken time out of their evenings to really see what the future of North Lawndale might be. And we hope that this is only the beginning. We're going to, and Brian will go over a series of ways that we're going to collect more feedback. The videos, which were really wonderfully produced, I hope you will forward them via YouTube to friends and family who weren't able to be here tonight, that you will engage in the various surveys and scorecards, and that you will continue to make yourself available to refine these proposals. The work of really rooting the proposals in the community starts now, when we narrow the field and select the projects that you think are going to be the projects that really will enhance North Lawndale. So thank you again for your time and for sticking with us and continuing on this journey with us. And then I would be remiss to say part of how the reason why this goes so smoothly is that we have incredibly talented planners in the planning department, and Brian Hacker, you make us proud. So thank you for your work this evening and moving forward.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm sorry, I spoke with Alderman Scott earlier too. He did want to also speak at the end as well. So I'll also yield the floor to the Alderman as well to help close us out. And if folks also don't mind, I will take just a couple minutes at the very end to let you know how we'll be following up with you in terms of further outreach. So Alderman, go ahead, please.
Well, thank you again, Brian. Thank you, Commissioner, and the entire staff at DPD. This was an excellent 2 nights, as the Commissioner said. I am so proud of the proposals that have been presented to North Lawndale. and look forward to sifting through this with community to figure out what is best for us as a community. Want to thank all of the developers for their time and interest in North Lawndale. You know, there has been a time where years and years and decades have passed without people wanting to invest here in North Lawndale. And for you guys to step up to the plate and want to invest your time, your resources here in North Lawndale is greatly appreciated. But most of all, I want to thank each and every one of the residents that were here this evening. It is really important. And I think right now is where the hard work starts. We might have think it's hard to sit through these proposals, but it's going to be hard for us to make a choice and do what is necessary to put the right proposal in place for our community. And I'm going to hold Richard and all of the other developers from the last couple of days to Richard's word and saying, hey, we've been here in North Lawndale and we want to continue to invest. Only one can be chosen. And so I will be looking forward to working with other proposals, hopefully somewhere on Ogden if you are not chosen. And so again, thank you everybody who participated tonight. Brian, thank you for your hard work, and Commissioner, thank you for your vision. And I would be remiss without thanking Mayor Lightfoot, because without her leadership in this realm of equity, we probably would not be here tonight. So again, thank you all parties that were involved.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks again, Alderman. And yeah, I think North Lawndale has a lot to be proud of after the last couple of nights, and take a little breather after this too. You know, it's been a lot of time thinking about new development and planning. So welcome to our world. So yeah, following up the meetings of the last two nights, we will be sharing with everyone who is registered on this meeting several resources. We'll have links to all the presentations. We will be sharing a document that is a developer Q&A, so something that condenses down the conversation that happened for all the different presentations, and distilling that down into a accessible document. We'll also be providing a comparative matrix that you know, has basic questions about each development proposal and team. And so you can look and you can say, okay, across projects here, you know, for example, how many housing units are proposed in each one? You know, who are the design teams for each project team? Who are the MBE contractors that are part of each one? So you'll be able to sit and compare all of that. And the goal of that is to be able to competently fill out the community scorecard that you will also get a link to, that allows the community to take part in this process. And do what it says it does is to score all of these projects and rank them. And this will be part of our evaluation process, greater evaluation process. So we do hope to complete this evaluation process by looking at late June, early July. So a midsummer selection for a winning team. And as I mentioned earlier, once a winning team is selected, we will be looking back at that feedback, you know, when we're in negotiations with that selected team to continue to make sure that this is a project that's going to be, you know, the best that it can be for North Lawndale. And with that, we're at the end of our presentation. It's 8 o'clock. So again, thanks for sticking with us both of these nights, and look forward to further communications from DPD. I hope you all have a great evening. Take care, and we look forward to hearing more from you. So please do fill out that community scorecard and feel free to share as well. So long.
Good night.